Alright, that's 032 or 22 gauge body metal, and we cut it, and here's where it came out of. The body metal we cut away. You just use any kind of grinder you got and cut it out of the way and back far enough so you can weld good stock to this heavy duty stuff here. This is 074, the reinforcement that comes, you know, clear up here. It's a big chunk inside the door here. That's 074. 072 is the replacement that I have. So it's right around there, 070-ish. And you want to replace this. The plan is to fill this in, cut and butt essentially, as Fitzy puts it, and get that totally done. Well, here's an idea. I found that this is the nut plate, and this edge over here, along here, is still a perfect fit, like a puzzle piece. Let's see if I can get it back in. There we go. See, it fits perfect. And why that matters is the location of the three nuts on the nut plate relative to the position of the entire door is really important. So, you know, you could tack all this at and kind of fill it in, and I don't think it would be very strong. So I think what I'm going to do is take some cardboard and make a pattern that will line up with these three holes, and then line up with like the grommet up above there, and maybe the upper door hinge. So you lay it over it and just mark it on the new sheet metal. If I just was to weld this in with some fresh 072, then I could mark and drill the three holes, and even maybe slot them with a Dremel or something, and that would put this in perfect position when the new sheet metal is installed. So that's the idea. I think piecing this back in is a really bad idea, because it's going to have, you know, 20 different welds and a lot of different I don't know, failure points potentially. So I'd rather have a nice big chunk of fresh steel in here, and then have to mark them and grind them and all that. So I think the template idea is a good idea. Years and years ago, when I was working on a design team, we would call those paper dolls. Not something you hear commonly, but it works. At the time it worked for them, and I like the idea. So the other thing is I can take a piece of cardboard on the other door and make it fit exactly, and then flip it over to fit this one. So that, or tack weld this edge and this edge, just one, maybe two tacks, and then try the cardboard. I think that would be best. It would be the strongest long-term solution I could think of. The other thing is to take the let's see if I can get it out without this is for something else, but it's just a placeholder for now. Take the die grinder, the roll-lock connection, the roll-lock part, and stuff it in there, and clean up the back side of this. I think earlier in the video I showed it's kind of rusty, so I want to clean off the rust on both sides before I weld it, so we get the best weld we can, you know, produce. So yeah, here's the roll lock. So I think that would be the best idea. There's a couple ways to do it. You know, there's no right or wrong here. It's just what you have. Now my nut plate's broken completely out. If mine was still in place, I would cut this 030 metal out of the way, the body metal, and I'd go in and I would reinforce and weld it all back in, and then do this 032. But mine's completely broken out, and that's not okay. So Anyway, that's the idea. Pretty soon we'll be hammering this edge down. We've got to flatten this out a little bit more. I've got some various tools I'm going to use to make sure this is all pretty flat, so that when we weld the new piece in, it's not tilted or angled, you know, poorly. So anyway, that's my idea. Sorry to hem and haw. Anyway, that is where we are today on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, all you goons. Tools. All right. Oh, so here's what we went through. I picked this up yesterday, Saturday. 2-inch Scotch lock, or whatever, Rotolock, whatever it's called, from 3M. And it just barely fits in there, just barely. If you jack the door up using the floor jack a little higher than normal, it'll give you enough space. So the thing is, you can use any number of tools. We used this one, we used this die grinder, we used this flap wheel in one of the die grinders, and we used that monstrous 4.5-inch flap wheel too, flap disc. And we also used a cutting disc in here to cut some of this 030 body metal. Now, it got kind of tight in here because of the hinge bracket. So one of the tools that we used is a Dremel tool, and it's laying down here somewhere. I don't know where it is. Well, that's, oh yeah, it's right here. Dremel tool, and these discs are pretty neat. They're very brittle and they don't last long. I have some fiberglass ones, but they're broken, they're cracked, so I couldn't use these. That's really what I wanted to use. It probably would have just taken one of these to cut all that. So, you know, basically, especially the 032 sheet metal, it's so thin that whatever you got to cut it with and grind on it is all you need. Now, we did a bunch of test grinding on the surface around here, but we really didn't need to. I did all this here afterwards, and that bad boy did that work really nicely. So now it's ready to be welded. When it's time for that, this has to be fixed first. So I'm going to take a break today. I'm exhausted, fixing tools and pulling tools out, and you know, airlines and all that stuff. Just the prep was a lot of work today. But anyway, we have made a huge progress on this, and I'm really tickled about that. If we can get this piece in flat and the correct, you would call this the Z dimension, then the door will easily adjust in place. Now, the way the nut plate is set up is when the door is closed, this is for adjusting the door in and out away from the truck. So you get some really good adjustment that way with the nut plate. So if this isn't perfect, the nut plate will help make it perfect. But I'm trying to do the best job I can. And then we'll prime and paint everything, because I want it to last as humanly long as possible. The rust that was on here isn't because there was, you know, it was rusty conditions. It was because it had been welded on a couple times. And this looks like it was, I don't know, probably MIG'd really poorly, and it was all rusted to hell because of that. It could have been torched too. Somebody could have used gas on it, because that's what it looked like. It was rusty all the way out to where the metal's clean now. Anyway, so that's where we're at with the project so far. It's going to be probably later in the week before I can get back to this. Today was really cool. It's only 80 degrees out today, which is kind of shocking and amazing. It's been 100 here several times this last couple weeks. So anyway, that's it, man. That's what the floor looks like. Just a mess of tools, but I needed all of them. We also use a straight edge to help test how flat everything is. And see, that's very useful to know that. Now, I did make one major mistake. You see it right there? The disc got loose and it went up and it just kissed the wiring. So hopefully it didn't damage anything. That was all me. It jumped and skipped and boom, right in there. So you do have to be careful and make sure you wear safety equipment, goggles and stuff we had lots of sparks flying everywhere. But anyway, we've roughed in what needs to happen next, and I'm very happy about that. And here's all the tools we used. Dremel, a couple die grinders, angle grinder, 4.5 inch one. Actually, yeah, that's the 4.5 inch one. So anyways, it's a little tight in there, but it's completely doable because we're almost there. And I'm going to TIG weld all of it, and my TIG I think will fit in there pretty easily. There's a short end of the TIG too. It'll be that long if I use the short version. But anyway, we'll make this thing come out. It'll come out really nice. One more set of tools was a hammer and dolly. It doesn't take anything special. You could use a hammer and a rock. These edges in here needed to be, they were stuck out a little bit, not as bad as the thin sheet metal. So we pounded it all flat, just went around very gently and did that. It'll probably take some more of that. But you need something, you know, be creative. This is pretty thick steel, this 072, so you can use just about anything to line it up good. I'm gonna have to cut it into a big square rectangle to fit a fresh piece in there, but we'll see. We'll see if we can cut and butt, as our YouTube buddies say to us. Anyway, thanks, see you, bye.